Hey everyone, Gaijin Goombah here, and yeah, you'll notice that I'm not in my Goomba form. I'm in my human form. That's really because what we're discussing today with this installment of Goomba Rage, it's really personal. And I feel like I need to put away the character, I need to put away the gimmicks, and I need to talk as myself. I need to talk as Michael. Because when it comes to the word nostalgia, there's a lot of mixed reactions, but I see a lot more hate for the word than positive. And I don't think that's quite fair. I mean, don't get me wrong, I understand why a lot of people say nostalgia is a bad thing. If we're constantly looking backwards, we can't look forward. We can't... And this doesn't even just apply to games, it can apply to anything. Movies, books, food, whatever. If we don't look forward and see what the new possibilities are, we can't ever advance. But at the same time, nostalgia is so powerful. And a lot of people, some of you may be agreeing with me, but I'm sure there's a lot of you who are not. I'm sure there's a lot of you who are saying nostalgia is not really worth defending because for the reasons that I've already mentioned. But I'll say this. If you don't work for a living, if you don't pay your own bills, if you don't work the grind, you really don't have any right to judge. You really don't have any right to tell someone that nostalgia is bad or nostalgia is good. Because you don't have any point of reference. One of the reasons why I wanted to do this segment is because I'm 29. I turned 29 in September of this year. I'm looking at 30 right around the corner, and that's kind of a scary thought. But at the same time, I'm becoming an adult. I wouldn't classify myself as a real adult as of yet, if all this can't, make that more apparent. But I'm thinking more about what that means, what it means to grow up. I mean, for those of you that follow me on Twitter, I said the reason why I don't like a lot of new games, current-gen games, etc., is because you have to put such a time commitment into it. And for me, I don't have time for that as a working adult, as someone who's trying to pay bills and be responsible. But at the same time, games are still a big part of my life. And the older games are still a really big part of my life. And it bugs me, because when I talked about nostalgia before, when I talked about why, like the last one that I did, the problems with Mario, a lot of people said I was nostalgia blinded. I would argue, so what? And here's why. Is because when you're an adult, you have the grind. You go to work, most likely to a job you don't like. You're there anywhere between 4 to 8 hours a day, if not longer. And you just, that's your life. For like the rest of it. You are so time sunk into that job. And if you don't live that life, you cannot understand the importance of nostalgia. And as cheap and hokey as it may sound, one of the big reasons why nostalgia is so important, at least to people like me, and to people that work the grind, is because it really does remind us of better days, more carefree days. And for those of you shaking your head, saying, oh, you're just nostalgia blinded, you don't really have a right. You've never worked that grind. You've never had months in your life where it was, I have to do the same thing because I have to be an adult and I have to be responsible. I know it's funny. When last time my parents were over, my dad looked around and he said, son, if I didn't know better, I'd be really worried for you because it looks like you're trying to live your 10-year-old life. And he's kind of got a point. But I've got other reasons why I surround myself with the things that make me happy, but now I'm just digressing. Nostalgia is important. It's catastrophically important. And if you want to disagree with me, go look at all of these Kickstarter games that are being funded by the tens, if not hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. There's a huge market there, and there's a good reason for that. And for me, when I play my old nostalgia games, they remind me of not just my childhood, but they remind me of where I got started. They remind me of who I was and who I grew into. And that's terribly important. And again, I'm sitting here shaking my old man walking stick when I say this, but it's terribly important. Some of my earliest memories, some of my earliest childhood memories, period, really do involve a lot of these games. And that's powerful. I can only, out of the 7 or 8 childhood memories, like, I'm talking about 6 to 10 years old, that I still retain, only one of them doesn't involve games. One of them that I remember is I was over at my cousin's place, and he lives up in Ohio. And we just got done beating Mario. And our parents told us we had to take a break. We were getting headaches, all that jazz. We created a game where, when you're fighting Bowser on the bridge in the original Mario, it's a 2-dimensional plane. You can move up, down, left, and right to get around Bowser, to get to the axe, to make the bridge fall, blah, 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 blah. We took that concept as kids, and we turned it into a 3-dimensional game, where we went downstairs and took sofa cushions and lined them all up, and then one person was designated to be Bowser. And the objective was to get around him without stepping off the pillows. And we did that for hours, and it's nostalgic, but at the same time, it reminds me as an adult how really simplistic games, minimalistic games, can inspire inspiration. And I talked about that in one of my Goombah Rages. And here's another thing, too, and another big reason why I wanted to do this as myself and not my character. These right here. Let me put them closer to the camera. Between the years of 1997 and 1998, my church, my old church, we would have lock-ins, and my youth leader, Francis, he was really tech savvy, so he had this big projection screen and a projector hooked up to an N64, and we had these big, massive, multi-hour Mario Kart tournaments. I won them 2 years in a row. And it's such a fond, strong memory, and it reminds me, again, of where I came from, who I was. And then fast forward to Mario Kart 7. And I think to myself, when I was playing it, I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. They've got the old Koopa Beach level. They've got the really old Rainbow Road, and then Special Cup Rainbow Road. There have only been 2 times in my life where I've actually really felt emotional, either interacting with the game or listening to the music of the game, and so on and so forth. Well, 3, although I'm not really affected by it anymore. I am one of those yuppies that really got sad. Yuppie, I don't even know why I use that term. I was one of those sad sacks that actually really got upset when Eris died, and I can kind of understand as an adult why I did, because she was one of the few people in the game that actually had an uplifting personality, but that's for another age. The other one was the first time I was playing Donkey Kong Country, hearing aquatic ambience in the swimming levels. And it just made me tear up a little bit because it was so beautiful. But nothing really tops Mario Kart 7 Special Cup Rainbow Road. Because for one, it's really hard to put into words. The course and the music function together. I've never seen that in a Mario Kart anything. I've rarely seen that in games, period. Hitting different boosts, doing different jumps. It was on cue with the music in certain aspects. And it's really powerful. But it was... if you have the game, that particular level, it mixes the Rainbow Road song from, I think, Double Dash, and Mario Kart 64's Rainbow Road. When it goes through the GameCube version, and then it goes into the Mario Kart 64 one, and when I heard it, I started to cry, and I didn't expect that, especially not out of a Mario Kart game. But it was the music tied to the courses, but it brought me back. That's powerful. It takes a lot to make me weep, but I did. Nostalgia is powerful stuff, and you cannot take it lightly. It brought me back to this. Years, decades ago, it brought me back. You know, and I talk a lot about Mega Man, because at this point, it's probably my favorite game, or rather my favorite franchise, which really sucks considering, you know, where it's sitting right now. But, you know, here's another example, you know? This right here. Do you know what this is? This is the old action figure from the Ruby Spheres cartoon. And that just that and Mega Man itself just links back a whole bunch of different memories for me. One of the earliest childhood memories I had was I spent an entire freaking Saturday trying to beat Charge Man's stage in Mega Man 5. And the fact that I can sit here and play that anytime I want is phenomenal, but I remember how determined I was, how focused I was. And that kind of brings me back to my adulthood and reminding me what it was like to even as a kid, be so focused on getting something accomplished. You can't discount that. Another time when I was a kid, I was probably 8 years old. I tried to do my own little costume of Mega Man, and granted, it was freaking terrible, but I was 8. I had my bicycle helmet, I had like a blue shirt, and like I went outside, and I went out and I picked up this wood chip, and I was playing Mega Man 4 at the time, and I was like, in my childhood mind, I was like, this looks just like Dive Man's missile, and I would go out and I would play that. When you live that adult life, those moments are fleeting, and a lot of times for a lot of people they're non-existent. So you cannot discredit nostalgia. It's got power. It's got a lot of power, and because of that, it's got a lot of marketing capability. You know, there are a lot of HD remixes that I don't really favor, but I understand why they're there. I understand why they're popular. And I understand why there's a demand for some of them. A lot of people, I'm sure a lot of people watching this now, but also just other people in general, they'll sit there and they'll knock me for saying, oh, you're living in the past, or you refuse to let things go to look to the future. And I'm thinking, when your future, or at least the future that you know, is that daily grind of being an adult, it's important. It's important to be able to go back to something that brings you back to your childhood, to understand what it means to have childhood joy. That's why I play most of the games that I play, is because I don't want my childhood to die. There are people who cannot wait to kill their childhood. There are people who killed their childhood and then live in misery. And I know I'm repeating myself a whole lot, but I just can't stress how important it is to not do that, speaking as an adult. You know, and as an adult, as a working adult, I've got a little bit of disposable income. Not a lot, but some. And, you know, there's one thing that I'm looking greatly forward to, and that's this. You know, a lot of people have asked me, so Gaijin, how much money did you put down for Mighty Number 9 because you've been whoring yourself out with all the promotion the entire week of September? By the way, I don't care. I don't care that I gave Mighty Number 9 a ton of promotion and not a whole lot of other people. You know why? Nostalgia. Because Keiji Inafune and his staff, and many of them were back for this game, gave me some of the greatest childhood memories that I can ever remember. And not only was it important for me to remember those childhood memories, learning from them, remembering my creativity, remembering what it was like to have an imagination. Those things are critical, especially in the line of work that I have making videos to help educate and entertain all of you guys. Did I donate to Shantae? Yes. Did I donate to River City Ransom Underground? Yes. Did I donate to Shovel Knight? Yes. I've donated to lots of different games. Did I spend a lot more money funding Mighty Number 9? You bet! Because of nostalgia. Because I know that game is not only going to move things forward, but it's going to remember what made it great in the past. And if I'm an old fogey for having that old-fashioned heart of remembering what it was like to enjoy something as a kid and have it in HD in a different setting, in a different world with different characters, call me old fogey. I don't care. You need to remember your past to build your future. Because if you always look forward, you're never gonna learn. The past helps to teach you what it is to move forward successfully. I could not do Game Exchange, Goombah Rage, working with LAI. I could not do those things if it wasn't for my childhood experiences. So you can discredit nostalgia all you want. You're totally free to. That wasn't being sarcastic. Everyone has their own right to say whatever they want. They have their right to think whatever they want, because we're human. But you will never, ever be able to convince me that nostalgia is a bad thing. Nostalgia is a great thing. Nostalgia is something that can turn your life around, because it did for me. When I came back from Japan and I couldn't find work, I fell back on some of the things that I enjoyed as a kid. I remembered things, and I took that, and I took what I learned from Japan and all of my experiences with international relations, and I melded the two together to make something great. That's what it takes. So, whether you're for nostalgia or you're for against it, I hope you take consideration of things that I've said. Because nostalgia is really a lot more important than you guys realize. Anyway, that's all I got. So, thanks for listening to me rant. This is Gaijin Goombah, signing out.